And it determined the essential facts about the Muslim Brotherhood and about Islam, and the judge insisted that all of these be presented on the court website. He wanted the word to go out. Everything I'm about to tell you was established clearly in U.S. federal court. Why isn't our U.S. government paying attention to these conclusions? Now, the strategy of the Muslim Brotherhood and radical Islam, the Muslim Brotherhood is determined to be kind of the mothership over all Islamic organizations. Al-Qaeda, Hamas, all of these come under the Muslim Brotherhood, if you understand. And we can understand. Listen, the bookstores are getting filled with books that spell out everything I'm telling you. They use an abundance of verification, overwhelming evidence for establishing these facts, just as was established in U.S. federal court. This is not speculation, but it illuminated both their strategies and their tactics to use our Constitution and our laws, along with political correctness and moral relativism, against us as a backdrop to keep us from understanding what they're trying to do until they gain the power to do it. And then they were very clear what they wanted to do. Now listen, we had our Department of Homeland Security put out a memo right after the Obama administration took over. You know about that. We've talked about it. It's public knowledge. There's a memo about the greatest terrorist threats to America. You know who was on that? You were. All Christians who believe in the biblical prophecies about the last times are terrorist threats in this country. Considered terrorist threats by our Department of Homeland Security. The other major group listed were veterans. Where have 99.9% of all terrorist attacks in the world come from over the last half century? One group, Islamic extremists. You know that group where 99.9% of all terrorist attacks have come from over the last half century were not even named in that memo as being a terrorist threat. How blind can you be? How ignorant can you be? Is this ignorance or is it intentional? That's a question many are starting to ask. If it's ignorance, you're about as ignorant as you can be. You've been about as subdued by darkness as you can be. If it's intentional, it's treason on the highest level. We got to tell it like it is. Now, one of the 9 basic principles of warfare is that you cannot defeat an enemy you do not see. You are the most vulnerable of all. You are in the most vulnerable of all conditions when you do not see your enemy, or if you do not understand your enemy. We're pretty vulnerable right now. We have been made vulnerable by those who have taken an oath of office. Their primary, their most basic responsibility is to defend us and defend our Constitution from enemies both foreign and domestic. Why aren't they doing their job? It has even been said they have refused to seal our borders, to protect our borders. That is an impeachable offense. That is most basic responsibility. But it's not the borders along the south of the United States I'm as worried about is what is rising from within. You know, we have known Muslim Brotherhood members and even board members being appointed to top positions in our U.S. government, in the Department of Homeland Security, in the CIA, in the FBI. How is this happening when they have their mission statement is to destroy us? Why aren't they doing their job? Aren't they supposed to do some investigation of everyone they take into the FBI, everyone they take into these places? How could this happen? We've got to ask those questions. Now, if they're not going to do it, we're going to ask them. We're going to press for it. But we cannot understand the present world without understanding this issue, Islam. And we also need to understand there are many faces to Islam. It's true. Just like there are many faces to Christianity. You've got a lot of nominal Christians who don't even know what's in the Bible. According to some statistics, somewhere around 6% of Christians have a biblical worldview. I don't believe you can be a true disciple without having a biblical worldview. The Great Commission is to make disciples, teaching them to observe everything He commanded. So we've been making converts, but not making disciples very well. Many Muslims do not know what is in their own book, no question about it. They are peace-loving, many of them are appalled by the atrocities and all that have been done in the name of their religion, no question about it. There are many that feel that way. But what is Islam? I mean, if you want to know what a Christian really is, what some of us should study, go to the book. Read the book. Read what the book says. We need to read the book. Now, a lot of Islamists do protest. You cannot understand the Quran unless you read it in the original Arabic, which is now archaic. And there is some truth to that. Just like there are some things, the original Hebrew language that our Old Testament was written in and the original Greek that our New Testament was written in has changed. Hebrew and Greek have changed profoundly from the original archaic languages that they were. Languages change. You know how our language terms change in over a few years sometimes. But there's some who know what the original says. There's some who are very clear about it. They are putting out more and more their books, and we need to get those books. We need to read them. I'm not saying all of you need to go out and just become an expert on Islam, but there's some basic things we need to talk about, and we need to understand of what is happening, what this threat is. Okay? Or we will be overcome by it. We will lose this one. I talked a few weeks ago about the power to bring major revolutionary change. Only took 20,000 Bolsheviks to take over Russia, a nation of millions. Listen, it doesn't take many. You may say, well, there's only 0.5% of Americans that are Muslims. Listen, that is way more than enough to do the job that is the intent of many to do to America and in America. We need to also understand, why do they call us the great Satan? Why do they hate us so much? Why do they want to destroy America and Western civilization? One major reason is what the pollution that is coming out of Hollywood and other places they believe is polluting the whole world. And there's truth to that. It should be stopped. It should be stopped because we Americans say we're not going to take that anymore. It's not a matter of whether you have a right to do it. It is moral and spiritual pollution that is polluting the world. And I feel often, and I have done it often, apologize to Muslims for the kind of moral pollution that is coming out of our country. They see that as American Christianity. Number one program watched throughout the Middle East to try to understand Americans is Jerry Springer. That's what they look at. That's what they see. They think there is no hope for any group that has become that perverted. They think America is a homosexual nation ruled by homosexuals who are in total control, and this kind of moral and spiritual pollution is destroying the earth, and there's nothing to do but to kill us all. It's the truth. There are other reasons. There are some political reasons. But listen, as far as that